Yeah, yeah. Ay, coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, been dope on flame. I just switched the lane. I done seen too many fakes. Saying many lies, couple figures they ain't counting up. Who could blow on while the Henny rise? This ain't my life, child, eh? This ain't my life, child, eh? This is the life that every rapper perceives, so people adore, eh? Stay in a room full of pictures that's framed. Nothing to anyone going against me. I don't lose touch by myself, frustrations got me feeling edgy. At least when it comes to the beef, I beat all the obstinate fans. The way I stay stuck on his visions like, hey, but they pitch on a man. Channel aggression and question possession of anyone saying they're coming up next. Hotter than hot 97, I drop all the bombs. The bomb got the islands like for no, but we on it anytime they doubt it. I rewrite it, all the hatred they pay, I'm really about it. Ain't no other way around it. You can down it, you can up it. I'm gonna end it like a suffix. Generation X, tell the haters to suck it. Bully to the bully, I'm the push. I'm the verse, I'm the flow, I'm the hook. I'm the psalm, I'm the story, I'm the book. I swear to Nas, I made all these rappers look. Don't mess with my team, fam. This ain't just a scheme, fam. This ain't just a dream, fam. This is more than our lives, fam. Caught the flow on my right hand, haters, good night, man. Hold the team like...
What's up, guys? It's your homegirl, Just Juju, and this is Always 718. I have a very special guest today, and I'm so happy to have you on. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining me today. I've been watching you for a while. I think you're dope. So I really wanted to have you on and really have you just talk about your music and everything that you do. Everybody, this is Leon Marin. What's up, Leon?
I'm good. How you doing?
Why are you laughing?
I'm just in a laughable mood, I guess.
Oh, yeah? So Leon, yeah, today's one of those days. It's Tuesday. We got Monday out of the way. We got Tuesday and the rest of the week to get through. But Leon, I just wanted you to come on and talk about your music. Leon is a hip hop artist. And I don't want to just say hip hop artist. You're like, I want to say a lyricist, a poet. You're an MC. And I think that having you on today was important because I love hip hop and I really love what you're doing. So I want to have you come on. So shout out to you for coming on. But you're welcome. So of course, I got to get into the title of the show. The title of the show is Always 718. And I have to ask, what area code are you repping today?
I'm rapping 718 and 347.
718 and the 347 by way of where?
I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Okay, shout out to
Yeah.
Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. I want to say shout out to Brooklyn. I'm a Queens girl, but I mess with Brooklyn hard. I
mess with Queens hard, don't worry.
Yeah, so I used to be in Brooklyn a lot.
I love Nas. I love Nas.
Nas, yeah, I mean, come on now. When you're talking about Brooklyn and you're talking about hip hop, we got some of the biggest, most prolific, one of the biggest in the game that really made it out of Marcy. We got Jay-Z. We got so many different rappers from Brooklyn. So, but yeah, shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to my family. I want to say shout out to my family in Brooklyn too. I still have family in Brooklyn, Flatbush, Canarsie. But you're from Brooklyn. What part of Brooklyn are you from?
Gowanus Projects.
Gowanus. Shout out to Gowanus. That's what's up. So, speaking of being from Brooklyn, like I mentioned before, Brooklyn, first of all, hip hop is known for New York artists. We were the originators of hip hop. And, I can say that confidently, that it can't be contested. We started hip hop. But when you're talking about being from Brooklyn and being a rapper from Brooklyn, what does that mean to you right now? What does that mean to you as far as like, it's a lot of big shoes to fill when you're repping a borough.
I don't think about those big shoes, honestly. I just do what I do. Whoever supports. But I'm not literally writing music and recording and thinking about such big shoes to fill. I'm writing music for myself, trying to influence others.
I love that answer because, like I said, I've been watching you for a while and I've been listening to your music. And with the way hip hop is today and New York rap, because we're going to talk about New York rap, it varies. The sound varies. It doesn't sound the way it used to. And when I listen to your music and some of the elements that you bring in your music, I can't say, hey, he's a New York rapper. But I won't say that you sound like anything that I'm listening to right now today. So I get what you're saying when you're talking about you don't think about filling shoes. Your sound is your sound, and the honesty aspect is very important. So with that being said, how do you feel New York is right now as far as hip hop on the map? Like, how do you feel?
I feel like it's kind of gone, to be honest with you. I feel like a lot of people refer, no disrespect, but I feel like a lot of people are doing trap music, and that's not our sound. Like that's like Atlanta, Chicago sound. Drill. I feel like we lost our sound because we wanted to be like everybody else who's booming right now. I feel like New York was so prolific in leading. We were the leaders of the sound. And then Atlanta, Chicago took over. And then we started copying them rather than just continuing to do our own thing.
You know what? And I'm glad that you're saying that because I feel the same way. I feel like New York doesn't really have a sound anymore. And I feel like first of all, we're gonna get into the music, but speaking on that topic, you got a song out right now. I love it. Free Broke. And in that song, you address that. You address this. And no shade to anybody. I don't want them to come for you. But you're talking about it's fine. They could come for you if they want to come for you. But you're not lying. You're saying facts. Because New York artists, and they're gonna come for me too. I don't care. Always 718, but I gotta let y'all know, New York don't sound like New York no more. And in Free Broke, Leon, you state that. What do you say in Free Broke? There's a line in there that you say. Can you spit that line?
This is New York. This is New York. This is where people make drill. This is where people stay trill. This is where Jay-Z and Nas are worshipped as gods and 50 Cent real. Why the heck we on that South Strip with trap beats, slow flows and hi-hats, Cheeto Bray saying stack cheese. I'm going to get into it. Deep with the music, I'm intimate. This is the game on that scrimmage, and y'all can keep talking. Y'all really ain't living it. Free broke. Yeah.
Free broke. I said, yo, when I heard that, I was like, I loved it. I love it. I love stuff like that. I love when people spit facts and they're saying the truth and they're not afraid to go out. And I'm not saying you're going out on a limb or whatever and you're not by yourself. A lot of people feel like that, especially me. And from my generation, I'm not going to tell you my age, but from my generation, we were just like, yo, where's all of this? Where's all of this like drill trap? Like that's ATL. That's Chi-Town. That's, we like it. We'll bump it. But then when we started seeing a lot of New York artists coming out and the beats and the flows and nobody's mad at you for taking and borrowing from different artists because that's what music is. You borrow from people that inspire you, right? And we don't need to be put in a box just because we're from New York. We're inspired by people from all over the globe. You know what I'm saying? But the sound, the essence of New York is missing. The Biggie, the Nas, those type of, even the Busta Rhymes. So I love Free Broke. I love what you're talking about in that. And since we're getting into the music early, I love Sweep.
Oh, Sweep. Nice.
Yeah, I do. I
actually shot that in Boston.
Oh, yeah? Shout out to Boston. But yeah, I love the visuals. I like how you was walking. Where were you? Were you on a bridge? What were you doing on there?
In Boston, in Full Sweep?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the bridge.
Yeah, I
was
loved it.
on a highway overpass. It was the overpass for people to walk over.
I don't lose touch by myself. Frustrations got me feeling agey. At least when it comes to the beef, I beat all the ops and their fans. The way I stay stuck on his visions like cable, they pitch on a main. Channel aggression, I question possession of anyone saying they're coming up next. Hotter than hot 97, I drop all the bombs. The got the Adams like.
Yeah, that was dope. I was just like, yo, if that was me, I would have been scared because I don't like height.
I don't like heights either, but when we was doing the video, I was just like, let's do it. Like when I get in the video mode, it's ridiculous. Like I just be focused, like, so focused on getting the shot that like my fear goes away.
That's what it is. Like me, even though I'm afraid of heights, like if I need to get a nice pose and I'm doing some pictures and stuff, you know, for the art, for the love of art, being in the cold, whatever, I'll do it for the art, you know, because when that adrenaline, because when you're in your process, I know when you get in the booth, it could be like 12-hour days. You could be just tired, probably from doing something else all day. But once that adrenaline starts pumping, it's like you don't even think about it because it's like it's a feeling that you have, and then when it's done, you're like, damn, I can't believe I did that.
Well, I use a booth in an in-house studio, so like
okay.
my guy, my engineer, his name is Devon. If you want, you can follow him. It's at produced by Devon, PROD by Devon. But the cool thing about his in-house studio is he has like a bed on the side. So like after you record, and he has to work on the engineering. I can fall asleep, and then he'll tap me to wake up to record some more. Vice versa, which is really great.
You be taking cat naps in the studio?
Absolutely. I record, and then if I'm dead tired, like really tired, I'll knock out. Then tap me, get up, record this part, and then I'll do that, and then he'll nap while I'm recording. It's cool. But yeah, usually it's like 10 hours. It's like 10-hour days sometimes, 12-hour days. So
you know what? You got to do whatever you got to do to get it done. And if that means sleeping in the studio, that's the real artistry of it all. Sometimes you got to sleep in the studio. There's no break. Oh, I got to go to sleep. I got to go eat. I got to go home. You live in the studio. If you live in the studio, you're going to produce. You're going to produce, and you're going to have.
The crazy thing, I have like around 4,000 records. So like we've been in the studio a lot. Like I have a lot of records. So that's the reason why we take like 10 hours, 12 hours, because I can record a verse within like 20 minutes. He'll mix it down, master it within like an hour. Then we'll get to the next song, the next song, the next song.
You know what? And I believe you because I know you have something out right now, but I've been listening to some of the stuff, like old stuff too. And you've been doing this for a minute. So I'm pretty sure that you have a lot of music that we haven't even heard yet. But I want to talk about, I want to switch gears. We're going to go back to the music and what you're working on right now. But I want to talk about, when did you, because I seen some stuff from back in the days. I seen Talks with God, right?
Love that song.
I love it too
because
you're talking about real stuff and you go deep. You're talking about some real stuff in that song. But you was doing that was years ago.
Yeah, that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. But
I love that song. Like honestly, if I blow up, I hope I blow up off that song. I love that song, man.
That touched me, and I want to say that touched me because we gotta understand something about true art and lasting art. It's timeless. And if you could hear something from 10 years ago and listen to it today and still feel something, that's art. That's truth. That's honesty. That's authenticity. And that's what translates into being huge. Not to say that that's what you want to do, but if you look at the artists that really blew up and have like long lasting careers, you can listen to their music from 15 years ago and bump it today.
Yeah. I think the issue with me is that my old music, nobody's really heard it yet. So it's like, it's old to us, but it's newer to somebody who hasn't heard it yet, which is perfect because, if I ever get to that point where I'm getting really, really big, I want that song like that song and a few other songs that are older to be on the forefront of me. Like I'll re-release them because I really love those. Those songs are incredible, man.
I mean, definitely that particular song, you could definitely re-release it in like in a market, like today's market. It would definitely, I feel like it could work, you know, because that's something that you
Yeah,
could listen to 5, 10 years down the line, because the content you're talking about, dealing with family stuff, dealing with like your own inner stuff, and that's stuff that people go through, and that's never going to change, right?
yeah. That
All
was a
right.
very heartfelt song, man.
I feel like I'm bringing you back to a time because you have a look on your
I
face.
just
I know I picked a song that was deep, but deep artists are what work for me and for a lot of
so
people.
I'll explain the story behind like the whole thing. I recorded the song with Devon, and when I recorded the song, I had a friend named Tyreek Levon Cup. You should check him out as well. He's a great artist. But he knew this guy named Adam Trilling, and he showed me some of his like his photography and his videography, and I was like so pinpointed on getting him to shoot the video. So we met, and I just spoke with him, and he believed in me so much. He shot the video, and like it was just amazing, man. Like shooting that video was amazing. Like we went to downtown Manhattan, like we went to Lower East Side. It
Yeah.
was just a great experience to shoot that video. And by the way, we shot that video from like 9 p.m. to like 4 a.m.
Wow.
So mind you, the reason why you don't see people outside with me, you just see cars going by in a lot of the video, is because nobody's outside. Everybody's sleeping. So we're outside, literally shooting that video. Then I didn't even go home. I went to his house, stayed at his house, and we edited the whole video. Then we fell asleep at like 12 p.m. And then we woke up and we watched the video, then we re-edited the video. Like we had to edit it like 4 times. But I just love the experience in that video and behind the scenes of that video.
First of all, when I watched that video, I did notice that there was nobody outside. I was like, well, they
Yeah,
blocked off this whole thing, but it worked
no,
because it worked. You know why, Leon? It worked because of the stuff that you were talking about in the song. You were talking about some stuff in the song, and you were just walking through the streets. You had your little trench coat. It was dark
yeah.
outside. I was like, damn, yo, what's going on? What's going on with him? But I loved
I have
it.
my trench coat, my Nautica sweater, Nautica shirt, foot action pants, and Rockport boots on. And it was freezing, mind you. At that time, it was like 16 degrees outside.
16.
And
Oh, you didn't look that cold.
and mind you, we were just going. Like we no lie, we would get like hot chocolate. We'd be drinking it, sipping it down, put it on the floor, record. Pick it up, drink it, put it on the floor, record. Like, that's what we did. It
You
was
got it
great.
done. Yeah,
It
you
was
got it
great.
done. All right. So now speaking, I'm gonna get back to some of your music from now, but I wanted to touch on that because that song touched me. And I felt that song because that's something I could relate to. So everybody, if you get a chance, that's an older song that you have in the vault, but definitely everybody go check that out. It's Talks with God, right? Talks with God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody needs to talk to God.
I
But
love that song.
I love it too. All right, so let's switch gears, and I want to go back. Because I didn't ask you, because being from Brooklyn and being from Gowanus projects, you know, your style is different, and not different in a way where it's different, but being that you grew up where you grew up, I'm sure people was just like, yo, he's different. He's not like us. He's not trapping. He's not on the corner doing, I mean, maybe, I don't know if you were back in the days, but
I
yeah.
still think people feel that way though. I
What?
think I think honestly, I'm the person that people love to speak about.
I
Either
feel the same
positive
thing.
either positive or negative. And I've had a lot of negativity, a lot. You know, when I was growing up, I don't know, I just thought differently. Like, why do I have to dress like him? Why do I have to act like him? Why do I have to do this and do that? You know, my mother always told me just be yourself. So that's where my style formed. You know, I would watch like my icons growing up, you know, like Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas, you know, Biggie, Pop. And I'll be like, they have their own kind of style to it, you know, regardless. That's or Kanye, you know, and I'm like, he has his own style. So that's what I implemented from the beginning before my music. You know, I was rocking a flat top, you know.
I saw it. Yeah, I saw
I
that. I
had,
loved it.
yeah, I had red shorts. I had a black and white shirt with polka dots on it. You know, I just love style. It had nothing to do with the '80s or the '90s or any time. I just love style. Like anything you would show me, I would pick apart and be like, wow, this is great. So that's the reason why I dressed, you know, sort of different than everybody else because I just love like fashion, style. I loved it all. You know.
Yo, I see that because definitely you could tell you got like a New York street style, and fashion to me is not about labels. Real people that
It's
are
not.
really into, yeah, people that are really into fashion. And I see that a lot when you step outside of New York City, which New York is one of the capitals of fashion. But when you step outside, you see a lot of people rocking a lot of designer labels and thinking that they're, you know, they're lit and they look real stylish. But people from New York appreciate that street style, throwing stuff together, going to maybe the secondhand shop, going to like American Apparel, throwing, and I mean, you mix it up, high lows. I
It's
see you in
crazy
a,
because my glasses were all from American Apparel. All my
oh, for
glasses.
real?
Yeah, all of them were from American Apparel. And the crazy thing was like I wore 10 deep before anybody knew what 10 deep really was. So
Okay.
like I was rocking 10 deep in 2009, 2010. 10 deep wasn't really that big back then. It wasn't as big as it is today. So people were looking at me crazy. But today everybody's wearing 10 deep or Stussy or 8 or things of that nature. And I was wearing it back then, you know. And people would make fun of me back then because they'd be like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah,
that's
of
weird. It's
course.
different." But I would be like, I just love fashion. I just love the style of it
Now, the word weird, because I get that too. And this, I got this at Century 21, by the way. So I'm really into like saving money when I buy clothes. I like to look cute, but I'm not going to break my pockets just to look fly. But I could put something together. And I do have stuff. I have designer stuff. But what I like, and I'm talking about the style that you have, just because I see you rock it. I see you, I think it was bars. You
all.
was
Yeah, I
rocking
wore
the
the
dashiki. You
dashiki.
had the dashiki
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
Loved it. Yo.
Saying what I wanna say, how I wanna say, when I wanna say. Making flows okay is my duty. Rappers getting scrapped, I'm Scooby. Staying on top like Donald Trump's two-piece.
I don't know what happened that day. I'll be honest. It was I had a bunch of clothes laid out, and I wanted to wear my red pants. Ironically, I wanted to wear my red pants, and I was looking at the clothes, and I was like, no, 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 no. And I saw the chic, and I was like, this goes perfect. And I saw the shoes too, the Nikes. I was like, this is perfect. But then the crazy part of it was that day everybody was wearing black on the show, if you noticed,
Yeah.
because it was raining, it was pouring. So
Oh yeah.
I was the only one that showed up super colorful.
Mad bright.
and
I love it.
it was pouring that day. I remember it. It was straight pouring. So I wore a trench coat. I had a black trench coat, and I had an umbrella, and I had the red pants, the sneakers, and the dashiki on it. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yo, but that's dope. And you mentioned like you know, Kanye, and you mentioned Kanye and Eminem, because I, not to say that you sound like anybody, but I listen to hip hop. So I could tell that you were influenced a little bit by Eminem and those people. As far as like fashion, Kanye always came out and did his own thing. When everybody was rocking Jordans and rocking fitteds and all that, he came out with a trench coat. He came out wearing a vest, a tie. He came out wearing different types of clothes,
Yeah,
and
but
they
see,
said
I love
Kanye
that.
was weird, huh?
I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah,
I love when somebody just tests the norm and somebody just
right.
goes out the box and just does their own thing. That's beautiful. because it lets you know that they have their own mind.
I love that.
I feel like a lot of people, you know, they don't really have their own mind because they're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, you know, trying to make it somewhere that everybody else is trying to make it. But when somebody just tests it out and just does their own thing, regardless if it's good or bad, it's amazing to me because it's very brave to do that, especially with all the criticism you get behind it all. Like it's very brave.
A lot of scrutiny. I love that, and I appreciate, and that's why I gravitated to your music, just because I was just like, well, I'm not. This reminds me of something, but then he's different. He's his own artist, and not that you remind me of a breath of fresh air. I want to say like something that's needed right now, and I think with hip hop going the way it is, I think people are starting to gravitate. And I could be wrong, but I think people are starting to gravitate and pull from things that they like, that they love, and that are familiar, and that real music. And not to say that the music that's out now isn't real, but I think music that is thought-provoking, music that is poetic, music that really has some substance and it stands for something, and that you can listen to it 10 years down the line. But I did want to talk about the dashiki, because I was like, yo, that's powerful to me. That's powerful. That's a statement. That is, you gotta have you brought a statement to that battle. A dashiki. That's deep on so many levels. You know what I'm saying?
I love, I love, you froze.
I froze.
Okay, you good.
Okay.
But I was gonna
Zoom
say,
interview.
yeah, real quick. But I'm saying, yeah, it's all right. But I just love culture, man. I just love the culture of it all. Like, you know, like I love it all, man. Honestly.
Speaking of culture, I did. Well, speaking of culture, I did mention. Did I mention? Oh, well, my family's from Haiti. Like my family's
Nice.
from Haiti. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but of course I grew up in Queens. I was born and raised in Queens. But you know, as far as like my culture, my family came from Haiti and everything like that. And you know, with New York, it's the melting pot and stuff like that. And I have a segment. I do have a segment. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Where's Juju? What's Juju Eating? Where I go to different restaurants, different spots. I interview people, and we talk about the food, where they came from, and how that translate into their life, their upbringing, and stuff like that. So Where's Juju? What's Juju Eating? I cook sometimes. Sometimes I go to different spots and eat. And I'm just interested. And I know that people probably don't ask you this all the time, but what do you eat, Leon? Like, where do you go to eat, and do you
I eat
cook?
everything. I eat everything except seafood.
No,
The
seafood is my
only,
favorite.
yeah, I can't because I'm allergic to shrimp.
Oh,
So like, I don't even touch seafood. You know, like my fiance, she loves seafood, loves it, like adores it, but
me
I
too.
can't. I really wish I could eat it, but I physically cannot eat it. Like, even though I've actually tasted shrimp and I like shrimp, but I can't physically eat it because I'm allergic to it. So
Yeah, I love
yeah.
it, but I feel you. Stay away from the shellfish, all of that stuff. But like, do you cook, and do you have like any like influences? Like, where's your background? Because I know you're from New York, and I could assume anything, but tell us tell us where you're from. Like, what do you like ethnically? Like, as far as
Well,
your
it's a
ethnic
little
background.
difficult. It's a little difficult to mention. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican and African American. That's what I've been told.
Okay.
It's difficult to understand because I'm adopted. So like, I don't really know, you know, literally where I'm from.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's deep. And that's
Yeah,
deep
it's very
because,
deep.
yeah, with everybody doing like ancestry.com and all
I
that
have to
other
do
stuff,
that.
I have it.
I
I
have to
have
do it.
one here. I never sent it off though. I have one. I just didn't
You should
take it
send it
yet.
off. Just find out where you're from.
But you know, Haiti was different. You know, Haiti had a lot of the French. They had like a lot of different things. So, but you know for a fact that you have Puerto Rican and Black.
Yeah, I know for a fact that I have that in me.
And being adopted. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were adopted.
It's in one of my songs. It's a song called February 16th, and it speaks on it.
Oh, so I got to check that out. I have to check that out because that's something. That's how I know a couple of people that have been adopted, and it's hard.
I wouldn't say. Well, it depends on it depends on your specific situation. My situation was amazing. You know, I was
Yeah,
adopted by my great aunt, my great uncle. I call them mother and father. They're still my mother and father to this day. You know,
yeah.
but it was an amazing experience. The way I found out was very. I wouldn't say. I would say wrong and difficult. It was wrong because I wasn't supposed to find out that way, but it was difficult because I was hearing different stories from both sides of the family. Like I would hear, like they don't like you, they don't like you, we don't like them, we don't like them. So it was just confusing. It was like I was in the middle of the whole ideal of it all. But I understand it now. Like I'm fine.
You know what? That's something. I mean, everybody has their own experiences. Some people appreciate it. Some people have like their different feelings about it. But I know a couple of people, and it's like 50-50 across the board. Like some people's like, oh, I couldn't imagine my life, with my, my biological family. I it wouldn't have worked out. You know what I'm saying, for me. And some people are like, damn, I wish that they would that they wanted to be more involved and that they didn't give, you understand what I'm saying? So there's different, I think it depends on the experience, the individual experience and the person. But speaking, I'm glad you shared that with me because that's something that's hard to talk about and it's deep for so many people. And I'm glad that you're open enough to share that. So, and
I
shout
look at
out to
life
everyone.
differently. I look at life so much differently now than I looked at it before, though.
Yeah.
Like now, I feel like what is. Like whatever happened, and what is now is now. I'm not so focused on gearing towards the past and feeling like, what if this happened? What if that happened? Because it didn't happen. You know, I don't know if you know, but I went through a stroke for 2 years, and I got out of it, like literally out of it, like 3, 4 months ago. And
Oh.
now the way that I think is completely different than the way that I thought. The way that I thought back then, I was like depressed. I was upset at things that I didn't quite understand. Now it's like it is what it is. Like I understand everything for what it is. I can't understand anything for what it isn't because what it isn't hasn't occurred. Like anybody could think like, oh, what if my mom this? What if my dad this? What if? But if it hasn't occurred, you really can't think too far into it. You can only kind of like guess, but other than guessing, you can't get anywhere. So at this point in my life, I just understand things for what they are. And it takes a while to get to that point for a lot of people. I tell women in general, women mature faster than men. A lot of men haven't matured. It takes a very long time for, especially a man, to understand his life and what he's trying to do and how to do it and, like how to function in society and, be a good person. There's so many different topics on this, but I'm just saying, as far as me, the whole stroke output, it changed my entire output on life. It changed everything. So like now I'm more understanding because I went through that.
Yeah. What happened? Oh, thank you for sharing that because having those types of experiences, feeling like you could have lost your life or you could have been paralyzed or anything, and you don't look like you have any deficits. And I'm not going to go deep or whatever. I have
You
a
could if you
medical.
want.
Oh well, yeah, I have a medical, but I'm a nurse by trade outside of this, but I I know somebody very close to me just had a stroke, and he's young too. He was young,
Yeah.
so it's
Did they
hard.
figure out why he had it?
Diabetes,
Okay,
smoking
got you.
cigarettes.
They haven't figured out why I had it at all. Like at all. I have something put in my chest to regulate my heart rate. And they haven't figured out why I had it.
It could have been irregular because irregular heart rate, AFib. That's an irregular heart rate where your heart goes really, really fast, and
No.
and that could
Yeah.
cause a stroke too. So
Yeah, they've tested me for everything. Like literally, I had like 7 doctors at one point, and they tested everything. They still haven't figured it out. So who knows? But I take that as a blessing. A lot of people look at it as like a bad thing, but I take it as a blessing because it kind of slowed down my life and brought me into the perspective of appreciating life itself. Because if you would have spoken to me 2 years ago, my life was moving so fast because I was doing so many shows and so many radio
I see
shows
that.
and stuff. So it was like I wouldn't really appreciate the moment at that particular moment because I would always think about the next show and the next show and the next show. So now it kind of slowed me down where I just appreciate it right now, which is amazing.
That's dope. And you know what? That goes back to what you were saying about, and I'm paraphrasing, but being present in the moment and not worrying about what if this happens, what happened back then, but being present. A lot of us are so focused on what happened before, what's gonna happen, that we're not living in the moment, and we're stressed out about things that haven't even happened yet or already happened. And so when things like a stroke or any kind of medical thing or anybody losing a loved one, it really stops you in your tracks. It makes you like really reflect and really focus on what's really important right now.
Yeah.
I like that. And that's a good mindset. That's a good mind. First of all, being in rap, you got to have a mentality that is, first of all, you got to have a thick skin, and you can't be all over the place mentally. You got to be focused, and having a mindset like that is definitely an asset in a crazy ass game. Why are you looking at me like that? No, but it's true, because hip hop is crazy.
No, you good now. Wait.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah, you good
know.
now.
Yeah, the people know I hate doing Zoom interviews, so I try to avoid it. But I was like, I gotta get you on, and I'm in Florida. When I was in New York, I was gonna try to reach out to you too, but I'm in New York, and I said I have to get him on. But let's let's switch gears and go back now, because we were talking about you rhyming a couple of years ago, talks with God and stuff like that. I want to go back, and then we're gonna go fast forward to today. But way back, I want to ask you a question about
how far back.
I'm talking about. I want to know when did you say, "Yo, I could rap. I'm gonna do this." When did you write your first rhyme?
It didn't happen the way a lot of people think. Like it literally didn't happen where I was just listening to somebody and the bars came out. It was my father passed away.
Okay.
My father passed away, and I was very, very sad.
How old were you? I think you said 9, right?
I was 9 years old, and
I heard
we were
it in
in
the song.
English. Yeah, we were in English class. I still remember the teacher's name. Her name was Miss Dolores. And what ended up happening was she needed us to write a poem for the class, any poem we wanted to. I wasn't in the mood because my father passed away. So if you would have saw me back then, I was literally like drenched, like down in my chair like this, just not looking at anybody, just sad. And she was like, "Hey, do you want to write a poem?" So I said no. She said, "Come on, we have to do this. This is a class thing. We have to do it." I said, "Okay." She said, "Write about what you're feeling." It was great because what I was feeling was so much pain. So I wrote a poem about my father. And then she actually told the whole class what actually occurred because nobody knew in my class that my father passed away, which is why I was so down. And I just busted out crying like crazy. And then after that, this guy named Gabriel Trippy Diaz, he's a music artist as well. He brought me into like his little house studio. And he wanted me to feature on one of his songs. And I told him, I don't really rap. And he was like, it's easy. And he was like, you just put words together. So I started rapping from then on. I got better and better and better. But that's how I started.
Okay, so they kind of brought you in. They were like, "Nah, you about to rap." Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel, he was real cool, man. Like he told me, I know you've been through a lot of things, but just speak on it, let it out. It was real cool. And back then I didn't feel like I could rap, but I was trying. So then after that, I kind of got my confidence boosted up a little more. I put out a mixtape. then the second mixtape, the third mixtape, which for me, those were like starter points because I felt like my music wasn't where it is today, you know. But yeah, that's how it all started. It all started when I was 9 years old.
That's dope. I love that. I used to write poetry too. I write as well. And I think I can hear that in your music. I could hear, that's why I called you a poet, because I hear that in your music. I hear, and I know you've probably done like poetry slams and stuff like that and stuff, but I feel like the way you write, it definitely sounds like you're saying poetry over a beat. And that's what hip hop was, or it's supposed to be.
Yeah, rhythm and poetry.
Right. So now I just wanted to know about that. I wanted to know about your early beginnings. So I like that story. I like that story about how, you know, and shout out to Gabriel, because you did a good job, because you saw something that he didn't see in himself. And sometimes it takes somebody outside looking in to see that spark and see that you have something, to believe in you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it was we lived in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived one building over from me.
Okay.
So I would literally go in the building, go to his house and record. Then I'd leave his house and go right back home. It was amazing. Like, usually when you hear stories like that, you hear about people, you know, having to travel. You know, I didn't have to travel. I took like maybe 15 steps and I was at his door, which was great.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people that start out together, they start out in the neighborhood together, you know, like friends in the neighborhood, going in each other's basements and just going around the corner a couple of blocks away. And New York is known for stuff like that. And not just New York, but everywhere, that people that came up together, that's usually how it works. But, you know, like I said, that was dope that somebody saw something in you that you didn't see within yourself. But now you got to know, because you have a buzz. And you've done some things. And I want to touch on some of that, because I think I mentioned that, well, first off, I do want to talk about some technical stuff, because we talk about lyricism in today's hip hop. I have a question now. How important do you think it is to be able to write your own rhymes and freestyle? Two-part question.
I don't think it's that important today. I think it's important to me, but
Yes.
today for a lot of artists, it's not important. A lot of
It's
artists
not, right?
don't write their rhymes. A lot of artists don't freestyle. You know, I kind of feel like hip hop is here, but it's kind of dying out in that sense, because a lot of artists just don't do that anymore. You know, for me, it's very important. You know, like when I was growing up, I grew up in the 90s. Like I started growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, you know, when people were telling you to freestyle, write your own music, and not to do any of that stuff. You know, now it's a completely different era. You know, people don't write, people don't freestyle, you know.
But you definitely do. And I've seen you in action. Couple of times I've seen you in action. So Jimmy Fallon, you went on Jimmy Fallon. Shout out to Jimmy Fallon. But you went on Jimmy Fallon and he gave you a couple of words to spit. That you had to spit
it was intense.
On the spot.
2, 1, flow. Are you ready for this? All right, get ready. Rhyme wave. Get him started. 3, 2, 1, flow.
Flow influential when I'm giving you my homily. I do my fans like Twitter, so of course they gon' follow me. Especially when
yeah, it was intense, because if I would have messed up, that would have been so bad.
That would have been the end for you.
I wouldn't say the end, but
I'm just joking.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been bad. It would have been real bad.
No, but you ate it. But you ate it though, because that's an art, and people don't realize that. A lot of people out now, they can't do that. They can't. Somebody can't say, "Hey, boom, I'm gonna give you these words, and you got to spit a freestyle and use these words." Because
in a minute,
and you did it. Now, I'm gonna let you talk, but you do. I heard somewhere that you. I don't know if you coined this term, but you said something. You coined something, and I loved it. Free verse. You said something about free verse.
Yeah, I did.
Well, tell
I've
me
seen
what
that.
free verse is.
Well, a freestyle is when you go off of the head, off the top
Hmm.
of the head.
Right.
A free verse is when you don't particularly have a topic. You have multiple topics and you write out the verse. There's no hook, there's nothing in
Hmm.
it, just the verse. That's a free verse. The reason I started calling it a free verse was because when you would call it freestyle, there'd be so many people with their opinions saying, oh, that's not a freestyle because you wrote it.
Yeah.
So I came up with the concept of free verse. It's a verse, it's free, and on top of that, it has like no particular subject that you have to talk about. You could talk about everything.
Make the flows levitate. For anyone that underestimates your curve, cause my record straight tracks to colossal. Attila the Hun was speaking in tongue and uses my apostle. And anyone that follows is gonna need Cree. Rappers bleed when I drop like Apollo. I'm Rocky Balboa when I'm giving a punch. Rappers lunchables, I be hammered for lunch. Not decaying, my decadence brain. I'm like pestilence, the flows I get mortified like money with
So that was a free verse.
I like that because when I heard that, I was just like, because you'll hear somebody go up on Flex, and Flex likes to put people on a spot and make them freestyle, but they're not really freestyling because some people are spitting written mixed with whatever they're mixing it with, but it's not really off the dome. And I think they're free versing a lot.
But it's difficult. It's difficult to go off the dome in the sense of I'm not saying it's difficult to go off the dome, but I mean in a flex situation. It's like if you don't know so much about flex, if you don't know so much about any of that environment, the 107 environment, what can you freestyle about? You know? I mean, you could. I mean, to be very straightforward, you could freestyle about the pen or the table you're at.
Embedded off the top of the dome, fresh cheese on the side like I came out of Rome. I should pull out my phone and name everybody commenting on live feed. This is how I job feed when I be off the top of the head. I don't even know, man. I believe it at that, man. Saying what I want to say, how I want to say, when I want to say. Making flows okay is my duty. Rappers getting scrapped, I'm Scooby. Staying on top like Donald Trump's too.
You know, nobody wants to do that. People want to give you bars that are like incredible. So that's why they do the free verse thing.
Then he's dropping bombs in the middle of your verse. I'm just playing. But
Yeah, I know he drops the bombs so often.
no shade. We love it. Funk Master Flex. But no.
I mean, but that's his thing. That's his thing.
I love
his
it.
thing.
No,
Yeah.
I love it. A lot of people are doing it now. That was his thing first. No shade to anybody that's dropping bombs, but that was Flex's thing. But anyway, but I do want to talk about that because we're talking about hip hop today and the differences. And I see a lot of the elements that you bring are what the biggest hip hop artists of all time have implemented in their styles. The fact that you can still do that in today's age is something that should be respected. And that's something that should be able to take you very far. Now, I have another question. And it's not even, I'm going to go into this next segment because I have a segment and I like to call it, is it beef or is it all love? Okay, I don't know if you've seen that, but I do a segment called, is it beef or is it all love? And it's really like a talking point. It's basically, it's not about beef and starting problems and stuff like that, but
I mean, you could bring up whatever.
Okay, yeah. So is it, because a lot of people are confused about, is it beef or is it all love? Basically, we get into some topics. We ask questions. People can ask me questions, submit questions, or we could talk about what's going on in the world. We could talk about a specific topic. And we're from New York, so sometimes it's like, is it beef or you really mess with me? And you talked about haters, because everybody got haters. And if you don't have any haters, then maybe you're not really doing that much. But I want to ask you, is it beef or is it all love? Today's music compared to the type of music that you said inspired you from back, from the 90s, 2000s. Today's music, and we already spoke about it, but today's music, do you think it's easier for artists like that to get put on in this day and age than somebody like you that's been spitting some real stuff, and you basically have been spitting some real stuff, but you're not necessarily doing the flashy over the trap, over the you rhyme over different beats, but you're doing something that what some people will be considered not of today. How do you feel about that? Like, do you think that's beef? Do you get mad?
I feel like it's yes and no. I don't get upset. I don't get upset at anything the way I used to, like, at all. Like, that's not me anymore. But what I will say is that I would say yes, because they'll get signed, but they may put out like 1 to 3 records and then get shelved. I would say no, because they may find a person like me and be like, oh, he's great. We have to put him out. So it's kind of yes and no, because it's like, yeah, they'll get signed, they'll do their thing, they'll put out 3, 4 records and then be shelved. And then somebody like me, it might be a slow process to get up there. Once we're up there, it's like everything is there. I consider it like kind of like a Kendrick or a J. Cole. They started off kind of slow, not slow in the sense of they weren't making music, but slow in the sense of building notoriety as big as they are today. But now they're huge. So that's kind of how I look at it, as far as like hip hop versus what we have as rap today.
All right, so definitely it's not really beef, but it's not really all love. It's kind of like you see both sides. So now,
yeah, I have all love for them. I have all love for people.
Is there anybody today that you listen to right now? He said, "Oh, what was that?" Yeah.
Anybody I listen to today?
Some artists don't listen to other people's music.
I wouldn't say they're from today.
All right. So let's leave it at that.
No, I mean, I have to listen to other people's music. There's a lot of music that I like. But I like a person that I've listened to, from time to time is the Baby. Not Lil Baby. I listen to sometimes too.
No,
but I'm saying
the Baby.
Two different. Yeah.
No, I know which one I like. Lil Baby, I like that one.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, the other one, he began to too much. We're not gonna talk about that.
But no, those are the only two I've really like, really listened to. I listen to sometimes I listen to
A Boogie, okay.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you gave me some artists of today, and we're gonna still go into is it beef or is it all love? But I do want to ask you, what's your favorite album of like all time? Like, what is your favorite album that you will listen to? I know this is a generic question. Everybody probably have asked you this question.
No, it's not that. It's that it's so difficult to answer, because there's so many great artists that I love. Like, wow. Honestly, this is kind of a cheap shot, but Tupac's greatest hits. That's my favorite, because it has all.
Come with me, yeah. Hail Mary.
Yeah, Run Quick, see what do we have here now?
Yeah. I love that too. Yeah. I love that. I love me some Pac. Don't get me started. I could listen to Pac all day, and then I think I'm Pac, like the female Pac, after I listen to it. Be riding the car, screaming and rapping out the window. But yeah, okay, so I love that. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. That's
crazy thing is when Pac and Biggie were going through this situation, like as far as the beef, I didn't really see it that way. I saw like I like both artists. Why can't both?
Yeah.
Like I like them both. There was so many people that sided with one artist. I like them both. So I was like, it doesn't make any sense to me because I love them both. I'm not gonna pick a side. Same with Jay-Z and Nas. I like Jay-Z and I like Nas. So I can't really pick a side. Like of course you have your own artists that you really like. Like I love Pop. I love Buddy Simple. I love Nas. But I like all of their music, so I can't pick a side as far as the whole beef thing.
I never picked a side when that whole East West. I'm not gonna tell you where I was at, and because that's just revealing too much. But you know, a lady, you know, we got to keep something to ourselves. But yeah,
I
I
tell you
never.
everything.
Yeah, well, you know, I can't tell you everything. But around that time, I didn't pick a side because I saw it for what it was, and I was very.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I was woke as you know at that age, but I had an understanding and I had our
Mental fortitude.
mental fortitude, discernment. I had the ability to discern which was real because Biggie and
So
Tupac were friends. They were
basically,
cool.
basically, you were woke.
I don't want to use the word because we've been running.
I
Listen, we've
got
been
you. I
running
got you.
lit, we've been running woke, we've been running cancer, we've been running a lot of these words, and I'm trying to go back to. I'm trying to get my vocabulary together and use some different words. But yeah, I was woke
Yeah.
at a young age, and I saw they were friends. They were doing music together. They were hanging out, and then all of a sudden, you know, there was this whole big east-west thing where people were making music and then making money, then doing shows on top of
That was
that.
the issue, though. It really had nothing to do with Biggie and Pac. It was the people around him that was saying
It's
things.
always, it's never the
Yeah, it
people.
was.
It's always the people
'Cause
around.
I think if they would have literally had a one-on-one conversation, you know, like sitting across from each other, I think it would have been much easier. But I think they couldn't have that conversation because of the people around them telling them, no, no, no. He's got an issue with you. You got an issue with him. So
Talk about it. But yeah, it's very important to make sure you have the right people around you. And it looks like you got the right people around you too, because you've been doing a lot of things. And I did speak on the fact that you did do, like, you before you said you had your stroke, you were doing a lot of shows. I know you've opened up for a lot of different people, and you've opened up, you've performed on a lot of stages. Like, can you tell me about that experience, or like how that was working with like different artists? And like, even I've seen you doing like stuff with the comics and comedy shows and stuff like that. How is that?
the comics are amazing.
I love
I
comedy.
love comedy. I love comedy. The artists are some of them great experiences, some of them okay experiences. I would never say it was a bad experience. None of them were bad. You know, some of them were late. You know, that's the whole art form of it. You know, some of them were late, some of them were early. But you know, I loved doing shows with artists, man. Just hearing different music, different sounds. You know, expressing our creativity, having a conversation with them, understanding their life's output and how they think, and it was amazing. Like,
Is there anybody in particular that you went on, like you were on there, like you performed at a venue or you were on their show?
yeah, are you talking about a big artist or like
Yeah, like
artists?
no, it could be
Oh,
a
big
known
artists.
artist.
I performed for Uncle Murder. I performed for the Underachievers. Performed for Joey Badass.
Okay.
Uh, it's a lot, man. Jack Thriller. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah, I know all of them.
yeah. But
Okay.
the artists I've opened up for that I really enjoy is like Jules Miller. Really great artist.
Okay.
Amazing artist. You know, like real, like my opinion, like top of the top of the top. Like he's really good. You know,
Okay.
but
So
that's
shout
an
out to
artist I
him.
really enjoy. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's lean into something else now. Let's talk about let's talk about I know I've heard you on songs with other people, and I've heard different songs with you doing collabs. Like, of course everybody asks this question, but I'm going to ask, like, if you had a chance to collab with somebody, like who would be who would be that person? Who would be that person that you said that would mesh well with your style and what you bring, and somebody that you would say, you know what, I gotta work with this person one day?
I know you think Eminem, but I would probably never, because M destroys people,
Oh
man.
yeah, he does. He does. He does.
But I love Jay Z, Nas, Busta Rhymes. Love
Busta
Busta
Rhymes.
Rhymes. Yeah, Busta Rhymes for sure. You know, speaking of it, even Eminem, you know, there's so many. Kid Cudi. I love
Kid
Kid
Cudi,
Cudi's cadence
yes.
when it comes to like music. Kanye. You know, there's so many people I would love to collaborate with. You know,
I could see, and that's dope that you mentioned those artists, because I could see you actually doing songs with those artists. Because just by listening to your music, I could hear it. You know, I could hear you doing a song with any one of those artists. Okay, because you definitely bring your own style, but it would mesh well. It would be cohesive. I think you could have a good record with any one of those guys.
thank you. Snoop
Yeah,
Dogg,
yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Let's talk about Stewie. You want to talk about favorite albums? I mean, we're gonna go. I want to say the West Coast, but I was a real Chronic person. Like back in the day, I had that on repeat. The Chronic album, and of course,
I like the Chronic.
Doggy Style.
I like the Chronic a lot, but
Well, you know, we
it's
don't want
weird.
to talk about.
It's weird because if you talk about Drake, you got to talk about like what he's done. You
Yeah,
know,
and see, we got to start and see, and not. Let's go back to is it beef or is it all love? Okay, let's go back, yeah, because he's like, oh God, we got to do that again. But is it beef or is it all love? Today, cancel culture, separating the artists from the art. We're not able to do that anymore. We got R. Kelly. We got, I'm going to get in trouble, but we got Dr. Dre. We got a lot of people that have been Tory Lanez. We got a lot of people right now that have been having things, allegations, and just having some stuff being brought up to the surface, and cancel culture. Like, how do you feel about separating the music from the art? And because I know you're a woke person. We're going to use the word woke. Some people are like,
I can't separate.
separate it.
Okay, as far as R. Kelly, I can't separate his music from his art because he literally spoke about how he was feeling in his music. You understand? Like,
Talking about little girls.
I'm saying, like, yeah, but like he wrote about that. Like, you know, Aaliyah, for instance, was like 14 years old when she's putting out records that sound like she's 23, 24, you know? So he wrote about that. So R. Kelly's excused from that whole situation. You know, great artist, but he's excused, you know? Dr. Dre, you know, I don't really know how I feel because, you know, like, for example, my fiance tells me, you know, he's beat up people, you know, he's hit women, he's done things like that. But it's like,
Well, they'll say allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
But they have movies put out. They have movies put out on him.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I don't really know how to feel because I grew up really loving the whole NWA and, you know, Dr. Dre's music, and now it's like, whoa, like, wow, he did all that. I didn't even realize he did all that. You know, so it's like, iffy. You know, so as far as Tory Lanez, I heard the new album. I like the new album. My fiance likes the new album. Right now, we just don't know where to put him. Like,
you don't know where? What was the last part?
Because I kind of feel like the situation we'll never really know. Because the only three people that were there were Megan's friend, and Tory. So
and the security.
Really situation. Yeah, and the security. So we don't really know the situation, like exactly how it happened. So I just want to see how it plays out in court. Because it could either be him going away for like 22 years and 8 months, or it could be him getting out and he's a free man. We just don't know. But I don't speak on that situation because I really don't know. A lot of people are saying he did it. A lot of people are saying he didn't do it. I'm going to say that I don't know. I don't really have an opinion because I wasn't physically there, or I didn't see a taping of it all going down. So I don't really know what happened.
I could respect what you're saying just because we don't know. And, you know, I've gone back and forth with a lot of my different, like my friends about it, women and men. You know, I got in the car with my nephew one day. He was picking me up from the airport, blasting Tory Lanez and T-Pain. And I was like, and he was like, what, auntie? I'm listening to Tory Lanez. I said, but he's like, I don't know if it's true. And so I was just like,
yeah, but see, that's where I'm at with it. That's exactly where I'm at with it. I'm like, you don't know. Like, a lot of people are giving their opinions, but they have no idea what really happened. Like,
I don't know what happened. Now, and I'll say, I've been going back and forth. I don't know what happened, Leon. But what I do know is that there was allegations. There was a lot of strong allegations. And I think he wanted to have his voice heard and speak on the topic, but I think I'm not alone in this. I think the delivery and the way it was done was a little insensitive. And a lot of people are like, well, what was he supposed to do? I don't think putting out an album saying all this
I think
stuff.
people are misleading why he put out that album.
Well, he says that he did it for his mother's birthday.
Yeah, that's the thing. And on top of that, he can't really speak to people. Like a lot of people are saying why he didn't do an interview. He can't. He cannot literally talk about what's going on.
Because it's legal.
Yeah, so the best thing to do for him is to put out music. You know,
Right.
and people are saying, oh, why is he making money off it? Well, if you think about it, you could go on SoundCloud right now and get the music for free if you wanted to. You know, he put it on SoundCloud as well, so people can listen.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's a tricky situation. I'm gonna fall back and be like, I just don't understand because I wasn't there. So whatever happens, happens. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You know, if he hit Megan, you know, then for sure he should do his time and do what he needs to do. But if he didn't hit Megan and that's all made up, then you know it'll be crazy. You know, God forbid he goes to jail and then later, like 5 years down the line, we find out he didn't actually shoot Megan or stuff.
Right.
It'd be like, wow, we was all like on top of him, but we didn't even realize like he didn't even do anything. So that's where I'm at like in between. Like I don't really know what happened. I like Megan Thee Stallion. I like Tory Lanez.
Yeah, me too. Quarantine. I was in that beat every time. And I've been listening to Tory for years. Before a lot of people know him now after quarantine, but I've been listening to him when he was beefing with Drake, Bryson, when he was coming out doing a lot of the stuff he was doing back in the days. I always loved him, you know, but yeah, it's not, okay, so then it's not beef and it's not love. It's, we don't know what happened.
It's confusion. Confusion and understanding.
Right. So we just gonna hang back and we just gonna see what happens and keep it moving, right?
Yeah, like I listen to his music sometimes, you know, and I listen to Megan's music. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought I honestly think, and to be honest, I honestly think it's his best album. And the reason I think that is because I'm gonna tell you why. He's just so honest. Completely honest from his endpoint. I'm not saying that
I understand what you're saying, but
I'm not saying his endpoint is exactly right. I'm not saying that he's exactly right, you know, because we just don't know. But I'm saying from his point of view, he was just completely aware and completely honest with his lyrics, which was amazing to me, you know. Like, I'm not saying that he's 100% right. Nobody's saying that, but I'm saying just to get an honest opinion from his point of view, from any artist's point of view, is amazing, you know, because most artists don't do that these days.
And I know, and I've heard you say this in the past, and we touched on it, you know, earlier. It's really important to have truthful conversations and honesty and authenticity in your art and your music, because why? That's what people gravitate to, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to hear a lot of fakeness. You want to hear real shit. He sounded like a broken man. But let's move on because it's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot going on. All right. So we got into, is it beef or is it all love? And, you know, I did want to ask you one last thing, two last things, but one.
You got plenty of time. Go ahead.
Well, you know, we can't talk all day because then I'm going to have a lot of stuff to do after this. We're cutting it down, but I would love to talk to you. I would love to talk to you all day because you're great. You're dope. I love your conversation. Yeah, you're a dope person and your music is dope. And I just love everything that you're doing. I just feel like, you know, it's hard to see certain things nowadays and gravitate towards it because a lot of it is, you know, like you said, they'll put people out and then it's like, do they have the staying power? And I think a lot of people are getting confused with what is substantial and what brings substance. And I think substance is what lasts. Is what lasts. And that's what is going to determine an icon from just somebody that's doing music. You know what I'm saying? An icon is somebody that is lasting. So, but what I wanted to ask you is what, like, independent, and people have been doing a lot of major artists have been going, you know, this independent thing has been going on for a minute, right? A lot of people push, a lot of big artists coming out, like people like Brandy, and I don't know if you're into R&B. I like a lot of R&B.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw the Brandy
and Monica versus.
Monica, yeah, Monica versus. I saw it. My fiance and I saw it actually.
Yeah.
Like she was like, we gotta see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but still, Brandy, somebody that's been doing this since she was like a kid, finally has come out on her own label.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah,
her album went #1 at that time. As soon as they did the verses, her album went #1.
Right. No, it was #1 before they did the verses. I mean,
it was okay. It was on its way to #1.
Yeah, it was on its way. It was on its way. You're right. It was on its way to #1. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but as soon as she did the verses, it came out #1.
Verses, how do you feel? Like, yeah, and we're gonna get into verses. Verses is something I think is important, and I want to talk about that. But I do want to just touch on the independent versus like a major, because right now we see a lot of artists that have been locked into like these major labels for years and years and years. Everybody's going independent, and there are pluses and minuses. But do you think that if you're just starting out, you should try to be an independent artist? Like, we could talk about Chance the Rapper, we could talk about different people that really blew up being independent. But how do you feel like if you don't have the
I'm staying independent until I get the right deal. Like, and the right deal is basically the deal that I want, not the deal that the label wants. You know, I'm staying independent until something like that would happen.
Has somebody ever offered you? Oh,
a lot of artists say like, oh, you can't get the right deal until you sign to a label and then you produce, you know, the records that they need you to come out with, and then you redo your contract over again. But I don't know. I feel like today it's a lot easier because so many independent artists are getting so big, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you
like
see
even
it.
Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar was actually independent before he signed Interscope Records. So like, he was signed to TDE, Top Dog Entertainment. Top Dog is an independent label. So
yeah, Top Dog.
He was completely independent until Interscope reached out to him. Now I'm sure when they reached out, because he was already pretty big, they had to go on his terms, not on just their terms, you know. So that's kind of what I want to do. You know, I want to build a buzz so big that eventually a label will come along and be like, you know, we need you.
I think that's what's happening, and I think that's across the board. I think that's just even with what I'm doing, like media and stuff like that. I think people are building their own platforms, building their own their buzz, and then going on to have leverage in situations.
I think the messed up thing about it is that the people who already have had leverage for years and are getting older, they don't realize, like, I don't know if they realize that, but they're getting older. So at some point, somebody else needs to take over for them.
Right.
And it's kind of like they don't want to give it up, which is weird, because it's like, it's just weird to me, because it's like somebody needs to take over for you. Like, you know, you don't want to be 90 years old still making hip hop music. You know, like, somebody needs to.
Speaking of that, Versus is bringing back a lot of old, like our old faves that coming out. I watched the Snoop and DMX. I watched the Jada and the Fab. You know, how did you feel about it? And that's what I wanted to see. I've been seeing like a lot of the R&B, like Jill Scott, Erykah, but when I was waiting for the New York, and when Jada and Fab came and did that, it reminded me of being a summertime in New York, being on the block or a barbecue. Uncle Jada was twisted in his yellow outfit.
He definitely was.
And they were going bar for bar at one point.
But that was amazing because they're both lyrically inclined. Like
Yeah,
that was a perfect verses because
I loved it.
they both understand each other and they're both like lyrical and they both have so many features on songs. It was just an amazing album for that verses, for that particular verses.
That was one of my
I,
favorites.
I honestly wanted Jay Z versus Nas versus, but it's
That
never
ain't
gonna
gonna
happen.
happen. I want
I
that too, but
also
that
I
ain't gonna
also wanted
happen.
Chris Brown. I wanted Chris Brown versus either Michael Jackson or
Right?
Drake, but
I,
it's never
and
gonna happen.
I'm gonna tell you why that's not gonna happen.
Or Michael Jackson versus Prince. And I'm not saying they've obviously both passed away. God bless their souls. But what I'm saying is like you bring out a family member or something, they play their music, and that'll be great, but it'll never happen.
Yeah,
Also, I think verses should reach out, expand more. Like I understand it's for our community, the Black community. I
yeah,
understand
it's for us,
that,
for us
but
by us.
I really wish there was a verses with like NSYNC versus the Backstreet Boys.
I thought about that
Yeah,
too. You know I'm
like
in Orlando right now.
oh, you where the bubble is, the
That's
NBA
where they
bubble.
all started.
Nice.
Yeah, the
But no,
bubble.
I,
Yeah,
I I really wish verses would expand not just towards our community, but just everybody who's great, every great artist, and they just verse each other. It would be amazing, But I really do thank Swiss Beats and Timberland for putting this together, because it's really great.
I loved it, and it's something that we needed during
Oh
this
yeah,
whole pandemic. Like, I don't want to keep you, but I got a couple of more now.
go ahead, do you think?
With the pandemic and everything going on, a lot of people have been losing their jobs. A lot of people haven't been able to do shows. Things have slowed down for a lot of people. Like, if you weren't rapping, what other talents do you have, and what would you be doing aside from like rapping?
Graphic designing, tour guide. I'm a tour guide. That's actually my job.
I did that too. I used to work for Gray Line.
I work for Gray Line. Yeah,
I was on
yeah,
42nd Street.
yeah.
Well, not like that.
We start on 47th and 7th now,
For
and then we
real?
go down. Yeah,
See, I
yeah. I'm
didn't
on
know
Gray Line.
that. See, we have
Yeah,
something in common.
yeah.
I worked for
I
Gray
work for Gray
Line.
Line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I work for.
Yeah, I was right on Broadway, the one on Broadway, and then I used to go down to the South Street Seaport.
Yeah, past the Brooklyn
Yeah,
Bridge, past the Manhattan Bridge, make the left by the Manhattan Bridge, and go back up on the east side.
I had a lot of weird jobs, but I had that job, and it was so fun. I got to meet so many different people, and being in the city, you meet so many different people, like artists too, because a lot of artists do that job.
Yeah,
I met like actors. It was fun, and I was going to
yeah.
nursing
I know
school.
a few
Huh?
actors. Like I know a few actors. I know the guy who does Courage the Cowardly Dog's voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his name's Marty. Really cool guy. But yeah,
That's dope.
I
And
met
then
a few
graphic
actors.
design.
Yeah, I do graphic design, website design. But
Oh,
I
I
love
might,
I
I
love
might, I
doing.
might could use you then. No, just play.
Yeah, that'd be cool if you need it. But I was gonna say I love doing a tour guide, man. It's great. I've learned so much information about New York City. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a dope city, and I miss it. I go back and forth, of course, but it got to a point. Like I remember one last year, I was like, where was I? I was on Court Street. I was in Brooklyn, right over
Yeah,
there
Court
by the
Street's
courthouse.
right by the one. Oh, that's Montague and Court.
Yeah,
Montague and Court Street. Yeah,
I used to be over there all the time. Um,
that's right next to Fulton.
yeah, right there, and you got the courthouse. You got you
Hmm.
have everything. The big post office. I used to be over there, and I used to go shopping, and I went down there. After living in Florida for a couple of years. I went back to New York, and I went to Brooklyn, and I was just like, yo, there's too many people on the streets, mad people on the sidewalk, and kind of like I felt, and I couldn't believe it because I thought I would never feel like that. Growing up in New York, I kind of got used to it. I went to school in Harlem at one point, and I got used to being in a slower lifestyle. That when I got back to New York, I was like, there's so many there's just so many people on the street. Like, is there anywhere else that you've lived or you would live?
Well, right now I'm in Long Island, and it's completely different in the sense of people. It's not as many
I
people,
know.
you know,
I've lived in Long Island
but
before.
we're thinking
Shout out
about
LI.
we're thinking about moving, but we have no idea where we want to move yet.
Hmm.
But you know, we love New York, but it's completely expensive. Like, yeah, it's insane. You know,
Look,
so
I get more bang for my buck here.
I tell people all the time. I tell people all the time, New York is a place to visit, not a place to live. You know, you come here, you visit, you stay like a week, you see it out, you scope it out, you try to see everything, and then you
Hmm.
bounce. Don't live here because it's just expensive for no reason. You know.
Yeah, I was there last year. I spent a whole year. I spent the whole year last year in New York, working, and I had a couple of contracts I was doing, and I was in New York for a whole year last year, and I was like, damn, this thing is really expensive. And from what I was paying out there for what I get here and what I pay here to live, it was like a whole
And you
different.
get a lot more there, don't you?
Yeah, the pay is different though. For what I do, the pay is different. Of course, I make more money in New York, so I go from time to time, make a little extra money, and then come back here. But I don't think I'll ever move back to New York permanently. Like, I'll probably be there like a couple of months out the year and come and go back and forth because I,
Also,
I feel like it. Huh?
it feels weird to go from someplace that's packed up to someplace that's not packed.
Right.
It's weird because it's like you're so used to seeing like hundreds of people, you know, walk by you every day. Right now, it's like you maybe see like 10 people walk by you a day,
Right.
which is it's completely different.
Right.
But
But
I
yeah.
like it. I like it different. You know, I like it. I like to experience different things. So I do like it.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And that's why, and that's the main thing. That's why I'm always 718. But I've lived in VA before. You know, I lived in different cities before. So I know the difference by just being in New York. I feel the vibe. I really just come back to New York. I really just come back to New York, get a little juice. You know what I'm saying? Get a little juice of rejuvenation, and then I go and be back on my way. So that's how it is. So I do want to wrap this up, and I just have a couple of more things to ask you, and I do
Uh,
want to wrap this up because listen, I know you got things to do, and we all got things to do, but I really want to know. I really want to know, like, from everything that you've been doing, because you've done a lot, and I feel like you've accomplished a lot so far.
excuse me.
Is there any one thing that you were like, you know what? I really did something. I really did something big because you've done a couple of things that I feel like you could be proud of. But do you have like a biggest accomplishment as far as rap? Like, do you feel like
As far as rap, okay.
right
As far
now,
as rap, excuse me.
today, because there's always there's nowhere to go but up. But today, like, what have you done? And you feel like, damn, I did that.
I can't say it's rap. It's not rap. It's beyond rap. Like
Oh, okay. Let's get deep then. Beyond rap, what do you think that you
got out
accomplished?
of my stroke. Also, I'm marrying my fiance. You know,
She's beautiful, by
those are
the way.
the those. Thank you. Those are the two biggest things for me. Like pretty much of like all time. Besides like my mom, you know, my family. But I'm saying as of right now, those are the two biggest things for me. I didn't know if I would get out of the stroke. You know, on top of that, I didn't know that I would meet such a beautiful, astounding, you know, female who would take interest in me in that way, you know, to the point where we'd be getting married, you know. So those are like
A big
really, really
step.
big. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's weird because it's like God put her in my life at the exact moment I needed her. We met a week before my stroke, like a week, maybe 4 days to a week before my stroke. Then I
Wow.
went to the stroke. Then at the time, you know, anybody else would think, oh, she's gonna leave because I'm going through a stroke. She stuck it out with me the whole 2 years. You
That's
know,
dope.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's dope. And since we're speaking on relationships and stuff, you're open about it. A lot of artists, they don't like to talk about their relationships.
That's because they it's either
They're still out
I don't
there.
know. I don't know what's wrong with artists. I don't know what's wrong with people. I feel like one reason they do that is so they can cheat. Because if they don't say nothing, nobody knows anything. So they can do whatever they want to do. And another reason they do that is because they may be kind of afraid to let people know that they're involved. I'm not afraid. To be honest with you, I'm not afraid of anything. So
That's dope. That's what's up.
I feel like I got God in my corner. So
Okay.
what's there to be afraid of?
That's dope. And like I said, the stuff that you talk about in your music, I know you have a strong faith. I don't know what the faith is, like, but I know that you are spiritual, because you do talk about spirituality and things in your music. You have a lot of, references to like religion and God and stuff like that. So you do talk about that, and that's very important. That's very important to speak that into the universe and put that out there. And the fact that you're so honest about, I respect that. A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people feel like they got to hide their relationship. People, the audience might not like it, and you might lose fans, or people might be like, oh, well, you have to look, I've been told a lot of times, people want you to feel, they want to feel like they could have you, or they could, you know what I'm saying? Like, tell me like little things like that. Like, you should keep certain things private. But at the end of the day, the realness is what works. The
I
realness
feel like
always works.
I feel like women respect it more when you explain to them that you're involved.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, especially black women in general, because I feel like
Yeah.
so many of them go through so many things with different guys that lie, that cheat, that steal, that do whatever. So when they see a couple really working out, it's like a plus. A majority of the time, even in the black culture, we hear about the father never being there or the mother never being there. Majority of the time, it's the father never being there. That's what we hear, or what we see. So when they see somebody actually in a relationship, working things out and moving forward together, it's like a beautiful blessing in disguise, because it's like our culture has been shunned or smited in the sense where there's no father figure in that particular situation. So I don't know. I see it kind of differently than everybody else. A lot of guys wouldn't tell or wouldn't post their fiance or their girlfriend or whatever. I would post it.
Yeah.
I would post it because I'm like super proud, super astounded. Like, I'm amazed.
A lot to be proud. She's a beautiful, sexy woman. I loved it.
Thank you.
But so yeah, so it's all love with him and his fiance, and it's beef if you slide in his DM, because you can't do that. He's taken.
I mean, it's not beef. I would just explain to them like, yeah. I just explain to them like I'm getting married. Just like,
Pause. Hold on. I'm getting married. Okay, yeah. So that's it. I really love talking to you, and I really want you to, like, first of all, let's talk about what you got going on today, because you got music out right now. We talked about Free Brook. I talked about Sweep, and there's Kobe. I like Kobe too. Talk about what you have right now. Where can anybody hear your music? Like, what do you have going on right now?
yeah, you just go on to www.leonmarin347.com. That's everything I have. Like, everything is Leon Marin 347. That's LeonMarin 347. And you just go to my website, and the music, photos, videos are all there. But the EP I have out right now is called
Mood.
Mood. And Kobe's on there. There's a song called Unthinkable that my fiance loves. It has Alicia Keys in the background, which is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, Mood. And the reason I called it Mood was because there's any way it could go, like different moods for each song. So like any way it could go. So I particularly called it Mood because there's so many different moods in each song.
That's dope. Definitely. So everybody check out Mood, because this this music is dope. I loved it. I love everything that you're doing and what you stand for. And what's next for you? Like what like, I know you got the EP out, but like, do you have anything in the works, or is there anything that we should be
I
looking out
actually want to
for?
shoot more videos, more
Mm-hmm.
visuals. Even though we're going through the pandemic, I want to take the risk of going out there and just shooting a bunch of videos. But I want to shoot them in different places. Like not regularly like on the street, but like I'll share some with you. But like Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
I haven't seen anybody really do that. Like I haven't seen anybody say I want to take the boat and go to the Statue of Liberty and shoot a video with it. I haven't seen anybody. I haven't seen anybody even on a ferry, on the ferries, the New York ferries, get on the ferries and shoot a video on the ferry. Like I haven't seen people do a lot of things. That's what I want to do. Like when I shot this video in a church. It was called,
I saw that.
God Life.
Yes.
The reason I did it was because I was like, there's not too many people in general that I've seen actually shoot a video in a church. There's a lot of people that have shot videos on the street.
Right.
But I haven't seen people think outside the box. Where like, oh, I go here, I go there, I go to a museum, I go here, I shoot here. That's what I want to do. So I want to put out a lot more videos.
Okay, so I would definitely be looking out for that, because I love your visuals. I love the music. I love the whole aesthetic, but the lyrical content is so important to me. And I think what you're bringing right now is what we need. It's a breath of fresh air. We need to look out for your music. Tell everybody your name, your information, your IG, so they could go and check you out and go follow you and follow your career and see what you got going on.
Okay, my name is Leon Marin. You can follow me on IG at Leon Marin 347. That's LeonMarin 347. That's actually New York area code. But
yes.
also everything is Leon Marin 347. Facebook, Twitter, Gmail. I can think of so many things. Everything is Leon Marin 347. You can follow me at Leon Marin 347.
And that's his real name.
Yes, it is.
Dope.
It is my real name.
The government. I love it.
That's my government name, yeah.
All right, Leon. I'm so happy that we got to chop it up. I got a chance to get all my questions, most of my questions, because we could be going all day long.
Go ahead.
Well, you know what? We can't, because the people have things to do. And gotcha. I can't keep the people from doing what they got to do. But I loved it. I want everybody to go check out Leon Marin. He's a dope artist. He's doing his thing. And I wish you like the best. I wish you all the luck and success, because I think you got it. I think you're up there. I think you got it. I think you got it.
Thank you.
All right. So guys, thank you for joining us today. I'm your homegirl, Just Juju. And this is Always 718. Peace.
Peace.
Be myself, then indulging songs to commit the crimes. Talking to order from a different time. My tape is scotch on a different line. I'm shifting grinds. Man, I never hate. I'm more platonic, and I'm tired of this music teaching you to be demonic. So I'm gone. I'm higher in my like a new person smoking. We did not lose from my section. I'm closing my eyes. Life is a blessing. My section is great. Everyone's rapping a story. I'm testing my fate. Most folks can relate. Living in ghettos unsettled by bullets that quake, and rappers be clogged sleep while most of the sheep start a ruckus. Them bullets go plow, has thoughts like unloud. Everyone's mind start to bargain. Live in a city where most people show you no pity. You're at from the start. It sucked from the end, so once you go slow, it's a quickie. This music's my art. Don't care about lovers, just haters, no care about what shifty. I'm up on an arc. It's either I'm flowing or doom will come after your city. My flow is a spark. Subsiding while riding the beat, I'm subsiding and diving in peace from the crates that I'm riding while flowing and going too deep like Poseidon, I'm gone.
Yeah. Ay, coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name, big been dope on flame. I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again.
What's up, guys? It's your homegirl, Just Juju, and this is Always 718. I just wanted to touch base with you guys. I've been actually working